I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design, with an absolutely jam-packed episode featuring some sound from KBIS and IBS 2023. For the record, this show was amazing, and you're about to hear why. I'm going to call it, the pandemic is over. I don't know if that's official or not, but I'm calling it. It's done. With that broad statement comes some finer nuanced observations. Yes, people are still getting COVID. Yes, you still see some masked holdouts, but I would equate those to a lingering cough after being sick. I base this on traffic I saw at Las Vegas Market, KBIS, and IBS. It was absolutely jammed. The parties were full of unmasked, imbibing revelers, all in Vegas to see what was happening. And much was happening. You have already heard some of what was happening at the Las Vegas Market. If you missed it, check the show notes for podcast feed for links to episodes about the panels and the people. This is a montage from KBIS and IBS featuring brands and design talent from around the country who descended upon Sin City to celebrate design and find inspiration from products and innovation, of which there was a ton. It is important to call an end to the pandemic, but to remember all that we've learned. I will say this again, once something unprecedented happens, it's no longer unprecedented, and the odds are that something like it can happen again. And it will. If and when it does, we will be prepared. Or will we? That is a conversation for another day. Today, you are going to hear from some amazing individuals, including Hacker Kitchens, Brig and Jane, John Shalone, Top Knobs, Sarah Malik Barney, and much more. So let's get after it right after this. I am incredibly proud of Convo by Design in year 10, and I'm equally proud of my partnership with Thermosol. They've been presenting partners of Convo by Design for 3 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide for a few reasons. They were the first company to design, patent the technology here in the U.S. dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a U.S. brand, a U.S. manufacturer in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody. I have had the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and you probably know this, that the idea of luxury has changed and continues to change, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury space. And if you want to add steam, you have one true option. It's Thermosol. And now, Thermosol, the industry leader in steam, bath equipment, and technology since 1958, is enhancing their already stellar family of products with new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas. Available in 3 design configurations, each sauna is handcrafted from clear Western red cedar or Nordic spruce, inspired by the brilliance of Northern European sauna technology and design. A luxury bathroom isn't luxury without steam. If you want luxury, you have one option. It's Thermosol. Check them out at thermosol.com and at Thermosol on the socials. First up, John Shalone from Tom Stringer Design Partners. John's role as vice president is multifaceted and deploys his characteristic energy to oversee client presentations and installations, as well as day-to-day priorities of the design staff. Prior to joining Tom Stringer Design Partners, John ran his own interior design firm, was an executive for Schumacher, and spent 4 years as chief operating officer of luxury footwear maker Stubbs and Wooten. John has an incredibly broad range of design and business expertise, which he devotes to ensuring the flow of clients' projects is smooth and steady. And I know your partner. I have spoken with him. Last time Tom and I spoke was 2019. Got a chance to see your work and see what you guys do, and it's amazing. And
thank you.
Tell me the story. How'd you wind up working with Tom? How'd you wind up working at the firm? How'd you wind up in the biz?
I always like to say when I talk about working with Tom that I hitched my caboose to the right train. I worked for myself for a number of years in Florida, and I'm trained as an interior designer. I have a design degree, but I wanted to move to Chicago and sort of found Tom by accident, or he found me by accident. He found my resume on the ASID, American Society of Interior Designers, national website, and they called and said, we saw your resume. Are you looking for a job? I interviewed and moved to Chicago. It meant giving up my own firm, but it meant joining a much bigger firm. And Tom and I have very similar aesthetic styles and business preferences, and so it was great. We were able to align our workflow, and I joined the company in 2007.
Tell me about the state of design right now. Let me preface it with this. So we're at KBIS and IBS. By the way, when you come here, is this KBIS or is it IBS?
For me, this is KBIS. However, I sort of find the most candy at this side of the show because there's just so many fun things that aren't normally in my wheelhouse of materiality. But it is really KBIS for me, and I like this show. I don't come every year, but I do find it really enjoyable. And when I was telling my team about it yesterday during a staff meeting, a lot of them didn't really know what KBIS and IBS is. And so I'm telling them how sort of fun this can be, even though it's a lot of walking and a lot of seeing. So you have to sort of distill it. But I think if we're talking about the state of design, I mean, it's evident that everyone's really excited to be back out in the marketplace because there's a lot of people here, and maybe more than I've seen even pre-pandemic. So I think that says something like huge demand. People want to be out. Networking is key in our business. There's so many positive things that come with the show that aren't about the products themselves. So I think that's exciting, and design is, ever changing.
And interesting too, I was at Market before. Did you come from Market at all?
Las Vegas Market?
Yeah.
I did not, but
Okay.
I was here for the summer market.
Okay. So really interesting because it was crowded.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people here, and for everyone who's saying, I think you kind of have to, everyone's got an opinion. And sometimes based on how many followers you have on social media, your opinion seems to matter more, which is completely ridiculous in certain things. And when it comes to how the business is doing, state of the business, state of design, are we entering a recession? Possibly. What does that mean? I think if you look at the foot traffic here and you see everyone that's looking for product and everyone's here looking to see what's new, this is pretty cool.
Agree totally. There's, a different opinion about everything that's going to happen with the economy and whatnot, but there's a certain amount of work that's always going to happen. When housing new starts aren't strong, renovation is strong. And so there's a flip side to sort of every coin. And even during the pandemic, when we were all very scared when it first happened as to what was going to occur, we weren't, in our offices and whatnot. The world sort of turned upside down for us because we were busier than ever and trying to figure out how to work effectively while not really being allowed to be in our offices.
So here's my question for you. How do you work a show like this? And it's an important question. It's an interesting question too, because you go and I look around and I see what I like, and you can't do that. You cannot do this show in one day. It's not possible.
It is not possible for sure.
Do you plan?
I do plan. I have a list of what I'm to see while I'm here, of things I'm interested in seeing. I always visit the big players in my world who I'm interested in doing business with. Kohler, Delta, Brizo, Cosentino. I see them because I want to see them. I want to see their principles. It's maybe not about seeing new product there because I would see it anyway. My favorite part of the shows, though, are the little vendors who have like the 10 by 10 booths in the back where you find new product that hasn't yet emerged, whether it's a new idea that we haven't seen or a better version of some other idea, and it's going to be gobbled up by someone else eventually. But I love seeing that early on, and I've always enjoyed that about trade shows. Even like at High Point Market, I sometimes like the temporary booths more than the big booths. So again, at our firm size, a lot of vendors come to us. We're very lucky. They come all the time to show new products. So if I didn't come here, I would probably know that Cosentino has 12 new products, or Kohler has a new faucet line, or a new digital technology related to their steam showers. But I would learn that anyway. But the little stuff is sort of interesting to me, and I sort of leave here with this great joy of oh my gosh, there's this cool new TV lift that does everything and the wires don't get tangled, and that's what excites me about this business.
And that's the part too, that you can't get this from a sample. You can come here, you can see everything working in a real world scenario, which is great. At the same time, if you think you can just show up to this and do it, you can't.
Yeah, Tom and I frequently will go to High Point for one day, and we run in and run out, and we don't go to our regulars. We'll go to look at new things just to see what the quality is. But this show is different. I think you can't just be here for a day. In fact, I'm not sure you can do the whole show in a full 3 or 4 days. You do have to pick. I tend to walk up and down the aisles, and then you get distracted and you run into people but I do make a plan in advance. I know which booths I'm going to. I'm also here on behalf of the American Society of Interior Designers, because I'm involved in their leadership group, and so we're seeing some vendors who are supporters of the society as well, so we have some appointments while we're here for that too.
I'm glad you brought that up. ASID fell on some hard years for a little bit of time, and I think it's because, honestly, you know what I think? I think the reason is because in 08-09, you had all of these new creatives come into design. They came from other places. They were real estate agents. They were food servers. They were students. They were mortgage brokers. They came from other industries that were displaced by the recession. They come into design and they're like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. No problem, right? And they came in a different way. They came in as decorators.
Sure.
And maybe many didn't get certified as interior designers. They came in as decorators, and then they hung a shingle. Social media, some popped, but because of that, they didn't get certified, they didn't get licensed, they didn't join ASID, and I think that, I don't know, I could be totally wrong, but is there any validity to that idea? And then the idea now is ASID seems to be coming around saying, hey, you know what, our local chapters need more support. The national arm is starting to say, hey, you know what, we need to do more to support the trade, and I love that. Does that sound about right?
I think you're spot on, honestly. So full disclosure, I am the chair-elect of ASID nationally. I'll take my role as chair in October of 2023. So I have a little bit of an insider knowledge or understanding of this, but I think you're right. And when we had our last recession, there were a lot of people that joined the industry that did not necessarily come from a design background. The thing about this business is there's a place for everyone, whether you are licensed, trained or not, and there's many successful designers who have no degree. However, the idea of ASID is that we advocate on behalf of interior designers across the United States for the protection of the right to practice, for advocacy of design in general, education for designers, so it's for everyone. And most everyone can be a member. You may not be a full member, you might be an allied member, for example, but there's a place for everyone. And again, the idea is we are a trade association, essentially, for our profession that supports interior design. So just like you might be a doctor and you join the American Medical Association, as a designer or a decorator, you should join the American Society of Interior Designers. It's the same idea.
It is. So, okay, clarify this for me. So you don't have to be licensed to be a member of ASID?
To have the full appellation behind your name of ASID, you need to have passed the NCIDQ exam.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But there are plenty of ways to participate as a member, allied member, associate member, industry partner member, where you do not need that full credentialing to be a member and participate.
I view this, tell me if I'm wrong, John, but I view this as a way for you to give back. You don't have to do this.
I don't have to do it, you're right. So 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, I joined ASID as a student member. There were about probably 15 or 20 people, professionals I met at that time, who became mentors to me, were extremely encouraging. I didn't know what it looked like physically to be an interior designer, so I latched on to a couple who I could sort of see myself portraying. They did different things in their careers, but I wanted to be them, and so they're still my idols and mentors today, the same people. I'm doing it because they gave their time to me then, and I want to give my time back to someone now. And I think if I could let someone have just 1% of the benefit I've achieved through participation in these kinds of organizations, then lots of people can be successful doing this.
And by the way, I think it's an important time to bring this up as well, because we're entering another phase, and I've talked about this a great deal. For those who are listening to the podcast who have heard me talk about this before, you can hit the skip 10 seconds ahead button so you don't have, but we're entering another disruptor phase, right? Where everything has been disrupted, and now people who have lost their jobs, people who have been at home and not working, or people who don't want to go into an office anymore and want to do something different are changing careers. This is how it happens. In 10 or 15 years, we will be talking about many of the designers who enter the trade right now, right? So it's important because we're entering that right now. What do you see for you, for the firm? How's the business changed for you? How is the business of design? How is design itself? Now secondary kitchens are just the thing, sculleries, butler's pantries. There is so much more. You mentioned steam showers. I work closely with the folks at Thermosol, and it's just amazing what you can do now. What's changing for you? What are you seeing?
Well, personally, in terms of just workflow, I manage a lot more projects. It just in general, more management than actual design. I like that in a way, but the industry itself and the profession of interior design has changed so much just recently. Technology is a huge part of what we do now, so like every single piece of something that goes into a home has technology behind it. It's better designed, it's better engineered, it's more durable, it's eco-friendly, it's healthier, what you're looking for. Everything has that now, which is great. Products perform better. I think in terms of design trends, the idea of wellness. I do mostly residential interior design. We do some commercial work and some hospitality, but the idea of wellness is huge, and so we should not be doing anything that negatively affects a client's health. So even if we stay sort of zero in terms of we didn't do anything to increase, we certainly shouldn't be doing anything that decreases. So let's not spec products that are going to off-gas negatively or perform poorly, decompose too quickly. That's a no-brainer to me. But we have a responsibility to do something more. So for me, the idea that what we do every day makes a client's life better. They sleep better because of the mattress we selected, or the window treatments, or the mechanical systems, or the air is cleaner. They have better social interaction with their families. I always tease a big, a former Fortune CEO 10 client of mine, like, hey, your stock went up because of me, because I made you sleep better and your wife is happier, and everything about your stock increase is about what we did for you. And he always giggles, and then I go, no, I'm not kidding. So really, I want part of that action here. So we laugh about that, but I think we have a responsibility to do the right thing and make everyone's lives better.
That is so funny and so amazing and so true.
Very true.
And I think, look, I got into the business. I say this all the time. I'm not a designer. I'm not an architect. But I do play one on a podcast, and I love the business, and that's why I do what I do, because I think it is so important, and the value that designers bring, and everything that we're talking about now, the whole idea of home has changed. And it's funny, you say you do the project management side. I think it's got to be still fun for you to get back into it and do the design, correct?
It's my favorite part. And during the pandemic, when the teams weren't in our office, I did a lot more actual interior design. I'm doing the selections and the design process, and honestly, it gives me the greatest joy as to my everyday life. So I would do it every single day, all day long, and maybe leave the management to someone else. But part of what I do every day is make sure the clients are happy and the projects are moving forward at the right pace, and that we're going to deliver on time and on budget, which is the hallmark of our firm's success. at Tom Stringer Design Partners. That's what we're known for. We're very good at engineering how to back out of a project, and if a client buys a house in February and they want to be in it in July in Nantucket, we can figure out what we can do to get them in. Even in this day and time, we're very good at that.
And the other reason why, one of the things that I think is so amazing, and what, with design right now, here at KBIS, you also realize too that, I don't know, I want your opinion on this. I feel like we are moving more towards a European sense of design. In that, it's funny because everything has always moved towards the American way of doing things when it comes to the creative arts like design. But now this idea of a kitchen where, in Europe, in many cases you have a kitchen, you sell your home, the kitchen, like the sofa, it comes with you.
Right.
And we've never really grasped onto that concept, but I think we're getting closer. And there are ideas like that, and that's why you have a designer. It's not that they can specify the most beautiful sofa for you, but it's the materials and the off-gassing and where it comes from, the sourcing, the specification. Can it be delivered? And now it's other things too. Like, if you love this kitchen, guess what? You may have it 3 homes from now. Yeah?
I think that will come eventually. Funny enough, like 20-something years ago, I was in a particular real estate market, and I looked at a house, and there were no appliances with the house. And they were like, well, in this market, people take their appliances, right? And so that happens in certain areas. Some houses sell with appliances, whether they're built in or they're just sitting there. But in other markets, they take them forward. I am very familiar with the whole concept of the European kitchen and things moving forward with you. I love when houses or residences have a sense of place, and many of our clients have more than one home, so I'm conscious of designing something that gives them a sense of place when they're in that home so that not everything's the same. The one thing about the European aesthetic, because there's a certain amount of modernity to it, that seems to be timeless and can sort of fit into any situation. I think that's regal in a way. But on the opposite hand, like taking a Christopher Peacock white, painted kitchen and putting it into a modern house when the client decides they do modern kitchens, by the way, so I'm not throwing them under the bus, but moving that forward kind of thing, it doesn't make sense. But the idea of modular kitchens that can be moved, it's very appealing, and I sort of think it's cool. And kitchens don't have to be that big then either, which is sort of interesting in terms of the downsizing of residential work.
Okay, so I'll get a little silly for a minute as I wrap this up, but you mentioned Christopher, and I love Chris. Christopher's amazing. And
it's still like the hallmark of good kitchen, right?
People
all reference it.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about
Kleenex.
Yeah, no, totally. But I'm talking about him.
Yeah,
and I just spoke to him. I had him on about a month ago, and we were talking about music because he's a drummer. And what do you do when you're not designing?
Oh God. My husband would say I only work 24 hours a day, by the way.
That's tragic.
But I like it because I'm very passionate about what I do. So I spend a lot of time looking through art and auction catalogs because I'm passionate about art and collecting even when I can't afford it, like I'm dreaming. So I like that process. We love to go to museums. Much like Tom, we love to travel. So while we may not do as many international trips a year as Tom does, for example, we are constantly on the road, and anywhere we are, whether it's a new town 30 miles from us or somewhere across the world, we're always looking to explore something new, and it's inspiring to me to come back with ideas, whether it's about texture or color or even how they do things. I like to bring that forward to our work.
Love that. Thank you, John. Up next is the incomparable Breegan Jane. You heard Breegan on the show most recently as moderator of the panel from Las Vegas Market. Here, Breegan and I just catch up a bit. So I have a question for you. First a statement, then a question. So you should know, I so loved that panel yesterday.
I enjoyed that panel. I mean, Josh, when you get a bunch of podcasters together who know how to have conversations, I knew it was going to be great. But there was a lot of vulnerability that came through and so much audience engagement, and I'm just so grateful.
It was awesome, but what I loved about it was I'm never the guest, and you were masterful.
Oh, thank you, because I was channeling you, and I felt like, I was like, wait, shouldn't Josh and I switch places? I'm so used to being interviewed and not moderating that it was a challenge for me, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Was it? What did you think? Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I very much did. As I said, do a lot more of the being interviewed than the moderating. And so it was a different hat for me. And I liked the engagement that I could have because I didn't have to answer the questions correctly. I got to really lean into my inquisitive mind and bring that out. And so for me, that was a really fun role.
Anyway, that was fun.
What?
Anyway, that was fun.
Yes, it was fun.
And I love that. So, you know, you and I first met, I want to say 2017?
Probably-ish. It was my first big project. That's what I remember. I was working on the house in Bel Air. It's 46,000 square feet. I was like, okay, I'm a real designer now. And this lovely guy, Josh Cooperman, was like, I'll put you on my podcast. And I was like, yay, I've made it.
Is that what made you feel like you made it?
It was part of it. Yeah, it was something that was large enough and that it made me believe in myself and my capabilities as a design firm to do that job and be so involved and to do it well. You know, it set me apart in my own mind, I think, more that I'm not just a decorator. You know, these aren't hobby jobs. Like overseeing construction and design and build and the team and the charts and everything that goes into it is really a business. And yeah.
Did you ever feel like it was just a hobby for you?
I think that what frustrated me is knowing the amount of effort I put into it and how much I love my career, but seeing other people react to it as if, you know, I'm just, like, I think for stylists, right? People think that they just, like, pick out clothes in their closet. And it was more that public perception of, like, oh, you're a designer? You know, that made me feel like maybe I shouldn't have such career expectations.
Really?
Yeah. Outwardly.
You know, it's interesting because I have always felt like, and that's why I got into this, because designers are artists, designers are musicians, designers are creatives. You are a creative, and it is a creative endeavor.
Yep.
Design is an art form.
Mm-hmm.
It really is when done well. But you can say the same for music or dance or fine art.
Yep, I think we probably all struggle with some form of imposter syndrome because sitting there and painting in your living room and then translating that into food on the table is a very far-fetched, weird path to get success out of the thing that you like doing because it's how you express yourself, right? So yeah, for me, that imposter syndrome is still there.
No.
Yes.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Explain where, not what it, I know what it is. Explain where you think that comes from, because, I mean, seriously, Bregan, you have blown up.
Thank you. And I'm still extremely nervous. I think people don't understand that about me. Like our moderating panel yesterday, like I still get butterflies. I'm still like, why am I here? Josh should be moderating this. Did they even invite me? And am I cool enough to be in this room? I mean, it's just inherently in me to feel like I don't fit in the room. And I think in some ways that has formulated my career, and it's part of what I'm trying to brand and market, you know? But there's the other side of it where I'm incredibly insecure in my success because I'm a perfectionist.
I get that. At the same time, you also have to have that hunger and drive, because if you ever do feel, I'm just kind of thinking through and walking through it in real time.
Right.
Like if you ever do finally feel like, hey, I've made it, I'm here, then the hunger's gone. The drive is gone, right? There's no push.
Yep. And I think that I am a product of my birth sign, if you want to call it. I'm a Capricorn. And Capricorns are known for knowing nothing other than climbing the mountain to a higher point. And it's less ego-driven, when you think about climbing a mountain or reaching the top. It is that perpetual climb that I don't know how to turn off.
What I also find interesting, too, and I wanted to ask you about this, the experience. So we're back at KBIS in Las Vegas, loving it. The experience has got to be different for you, though. Like, when you're coming out as a relatively, newer designer in 2014, 2015, I don't know if you came to KBIS then, but when you come there, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go educate myself, and I got to look, and I got to go see and figure out what's what.
Yep.
But you're not. That's not what you do now. I mean,
right.
How do you balance that between, you've got the media stuff you have to do, you've got the moderating stuff you have to do, you've got the judging stuff you've got to do, you've got the client meetings that you have to have. But at the same time, you're still kind of wanting to go look around and discover something, because that's the fun of being here.
Yeah, that is the fun of being here. You come here for the innovation. You come here for the inspiration. I think that one of the things I miss is the innocence of not having a schedule that was so packed full. And I think out of that, people don't realize those first few visits really do sort of set the stage for who you're going to work with in the future. But I didn't know that at the time. And so I try to find moments to still find those organic things that draw me in to somebody's booth and explore the why of that, and not just have the schedule packed every 20 minutes, which it is. But I literally have, this is your time to walk around in my schedule.
Have you had that yet?
No, it's right after this.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So how do you do that? Now, you have the one school of thought, whereas I'm not going to plan anything. I'm just going to go walk and see. Or I know that this area is filled with people who, with companies that I'll never see any. I won't see them on the pages of any of the trades. I won't hear them, being talked about. So I'm going to go try to find those. Which one do you lean to?
I mean, right now, because I have to, my life is very planned, and I enjoy the moments of ease it sort of gives me to know that there's a schedule. It allows me to be freer because I don't have this running to-do list in the back of my mind. It is on paper, and then I can just mosey around. And even if it's 15 seconds, my brain isn't full of the what should I be doings.
Wouldn't it be great if life in general was like that?
Oh, I try as much as I can.
Do
and
you?
I think you're the same, right? Like, I know my summer vacations already. I know what's happening in October. We briefly mentioned and talked about that yesterday. It's like, for me, there's freedom in that planning.
With that, though, do you find that at all restrictive when it comes to other creative things you want to do? Like you had a podcast. You don't do that anymore.
Right. Was
you
not a part of the plan. Thought I'd have it forever.
Did you?
Yeah, I really did.
What made you stop?
I had that podcast with a partner, and we were in it together. And I think as my career, I had to be on TV more. I think it was a struggle that I wasn't recognizing to keep the thing going as this other thing was taking off. And I also, sometimes those are just group decisions where you look up and you're like, okay, we're spending a lot of time and energy on this, and you can't make the choice for the other person to want to do it. And so sometimes things are a season.
And there's a reason for that.
Although I look at myself now and I'm like, mom influencers and where we were in podcasting, I mean, we would be on diaper boxes had we kept it going.
Right?
I believe that.
Well, but it's, it's funny, and I could see it. You're just like, oh. But with as much success as you've had, deservedly so, and how much more is in your future, it gives you a little bit of flexibility and freedom to say, here's what I want to do. I want to do that again. I don't want to do it the exact same way. I want to go do something a little bit different, knowing what I know and learning what I learned. What's interesting to me, too, is that I see some very distinct similarities between those who podcast and designers. There's, and we talked about this yesterday, there's those who say, I'm just going to crack a mic and talk for an hour and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
You know what? It's not going to be great. It may be entertaining for a while, but that doesn't mean it's got longevity. You have to work at this. It takes time. You have to learn your craft. It's a skill. Being a designer, or even those who are not licensed, who are decorators, there is a skill. Once I had a conversation with Alex Papakristoudis, and he's like, I'm a decorator.
Yep.
He owns it because that's who he wants to be, and he's very comfortable in what he does. Some of these people don't feel the need to have letters or other. They do what they do, and they do it very well. But at the same time, he's learned his craft. He knows exactly what he does and why he does it.
And one of the things you said earlier was kind of relating it to a musician. It's like you got to put it all together. I think anyone thinks that they can pick good things, and especially we all live in homes, so anyone can pick pretty things for the home. Being a designer is turning that into a song, or, being a podcaster is putting that intro, splicing it up, changing the topic, so that because there is a rhythm behind the action of the talent.
And sometimes you learn what it is you want, which is great, but sometimes you learn what it is you don't want, and that's interesting too. And sometimes it goes the same way about learning about people and their trade and the skill and the things that they bring to the table. I interviewed a designer years and years ago, and it doesn't matter who she is or what design house she was on, but she produced a really awful space.
Okay.
And I didn't understand. I was working with the design house, and they said, here's our designers, and I went in and I spoke to her. She couldn't explain her inspiration. She couldn't put 5 sentences together about what it meant or why she did it. Basically, she wanted to be a designer, and she found her way to get into a design house. Which, by the way, it happens sometimes.
Right. Well, and I was going to say, I have a lot of people in my firm and have always sort of had people who would not say they were designers. You know what I mean? They didn't come to my company because that was their talent. There was a motivation or a relationship or a skill that they had that could support the design business. So I think that there are a lot of roles in this industry and the visual expression that aren't always putting together the whole final picture.
Yes, but my point in that story is to sort of drive home the point that being a designer isn't what you call yourself. It's not doing a design house or getting on a page of a magazine, or it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about how you approach the work and what you do with the work, because ultimately at the end of the day, the work is what's lasting. The work is what matters. And there are wonderful artists out there that never get discovered.
I know.
And there are great designers that just can't seem to put it all together.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that do.
Yeah.
And that's what's so special, and that's what's so interesting about it. And because of that, one of the things that I'm just so fascinated about about you is this, and maybe it's the Capricorn in you, but it is that continual drive.
Yeah.
The continual push. I mean, when I look at your social, I'm exhausted. And I am just humbled. My social media is terrible. I told you yesterday, because I've learned what I can only be good at.
Right.
And so I just stick to that.
You only have so much time in a day.
Yeah. But the other thing that you do, which is also, it's an art form in and of itself, but the ability to delegate. And the ability to offshore certain responsibilities and roles is just amazing. But it's interesting because you're super driven, But you don't seem to be a control freak to me.
I don't think I am either, but I enjoy giving other people control and letting them fail and succeed, because that's the only way I was taught. Was when somebody actually handed me the responsibilities and said, here, try it. And I built this company for myself, for my family, as a woman, as a single mom who was given a talent, but I can't teach that talent. I can teach all of the how-tos. I can teach the systems I use. I can teach, to think things through and write them down. And that, for me, has always been part of the growth of the company, especially when it comes to hiring other people. I really want them to leave my company and go do whatever it is they want to do in life, and to have learned 10, 20 things that they picked up working for me, to be able and go and do that. And I mean, that's true. My girls have moved on. One has her own design business, one a doula, one's launched a workout company, but they still tell me and come back to me and they're like, oh my gosh, that spreadsheet, whatever XYZ that I didn't even know I was teaching them, helped them foundationally build their own companies.
What is on your design to-do list? I don't even want to call it a bucket list. I want to call it a to-do list. Like, here's what I know. Here's a project. Here's the type of project I want. It's funny. I was joking around before. I was like, okay, hotel, multifamily, International Space Station. I mean, because did you ever do a yacht?
I did. I worked in the yacht industry.
That's right.
Yes, I did. And that's where I actually learned a lot about just building, and building on the water is like something entirely different. And yachts have components that need to be replaced when they're in international waters. So there's a complete sourcing scarcity, because should the handle break in the south of France, they need a 1-800 number that's international to replace the door handle. I actually helped put together the entire $12 million ship's manuals, because we had to source and tell them how to replace the lights that are in the floating ceiling, because the ceiling has to be floating because the boat moves, all those sorts of things were interesting for the start of my career somehow.
That's fascinating. So what is on your to-do list? What is a project you want to do?
So I think for me, one of the things that I'm working towards is being available to the everyday consumer. I feel like all of my knowledge has been used for clients. A lot of my spaces I am proud of, but I come in contact, whether it's pillows, candles, trays that I use to design, a tablescape. And one of the things that I don't see is myself represented in mass market retail. For me, it was Whitney Houston and Tyra Banks. And I think fashion has a lot of diversity. I think one of the things for me as a woman is I want to reach the little girls that have the same talent and doing the same weird creating in their bedrooms that I had, and just be able to give them good products, but also be able from a lifestyle perspective go, you can be me too. And so that's my big goal right now.
What does that look like? Is that a marketing line? Is that a content platform?
Like a dream I just set out there because I do it. I'm like, okay, one day there will be a designer kit, and it's going to be a toy, and it's going to come in a clear backpack, and it's going to have a measuring tape in it, it's going to have a pencil, it's going to have a fake color wheel, and it's going to be the Brig & Jane designer backpack for an 8-year-old girl to play house, but as a designer. Like, that's where I want to get. I don't know how we're going to get there, Josh, but
I love that. That is so cool. That is so cool.
I want that.
That is so cool.
Thank you for letting me say it. When you say it out loud, you make a promise to yourself.
You manifest it. Have you ever said that out loud before?
maybe once to like my sister.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
What else was I going to ask you specifically about? Oh, you were on a little TV show.
Yes. So many TV things going on. Tomorrow, actually, the episode that I judged with the Property Brothers is coming out on Brother versus Brother. So it's just really amazing that my career has sort of shifted into just being able to be with like-minded people who are really talented in their space, who are good people. You know, Drew and Jonathan are awesome as human beings, and like it's fun to be able to be a peer in their space and go on their show and have fun.
How did the TV side come together for you?
So
is it the publicity side, or is it a representation side? How did it come together for you?
So I grew up modeling and acting from 5 to 12. So it's an industry that I respect and understand as a job. And it does take a level of performance and understanding to do anything you do well and to do it on camera. So I always say if I were a doctor, I would be one of the doctors who's on camera. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, I think. You can translate any talent into representing yourself publicly on TV if you have that thing. And so I never wanted to be an actress. I never wanted to continue a career in print and commercials. But once I found what I loved, I wanted to turn on that talent and have it support the thing I was passionate about.
Okay.
That's where it comes in.
Do you like doing TV?
I like doing TV. I still get nervous. Again, I'm
paralyzingly nervous, or just...
No, the sentence that somebody else told me probably 5-6 years ago that gives me so much freedom is they don't want you to look bad. I mean, unless you're on the network where they like women fighting, which I'm not.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you to look bad in their commercial. They want you to look good. And that gave me so much freedom because I was like, if there's a bad angle, they're not going to want it in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that every time I get nervous, I'm like, their job is to make me look good, therefore make their TV show look good, therefore make their network look good, so you can trust in that.
Fair enough. I love that.
Yeah.
And just wrapping this bad boy up, it was an absolute joy to see you.
Oh, same.
It was transformationally fun to be on your panel. Seriously, I loved it, and I will tell you why. You talked about the vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to tell some of those stories again in context was really, really fun for me. So thank you for making that possible.
And I know we're just getting started because you have brought some very important conversations and panels together, and I always enjoy the stamp that you put on the things that you do, and I'm excited for more of it as both our careers continue going. I know they're going to overlap.
I love that. Me too. You're awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh.
We are living at a time of incredible growth, both technologically and creatively, with respect to interior design, exterior design, and architecture. There is no question. There are companies thinking differently about the business of design and how to make products super serve those for whom they're being made. One of those companies, and one of my favorites, is Moya Living. Designer and fabricators of some of the most stunningly beautiful, incredibly durable, and highly functional kitchen, bath, and outdoor kitchen cabinetry on the market today. Powder-coated steel with stunning lines, vibrant colors to fit any design style or aesthetic. A history of designing cabinetry for the scientific community, so you know it's been tested in some of the truly the most harsh conditions available. Moya O'Neill is the CEO and founder of Moya Living. She's the inspiration behind the design. Designers, their specification process is so simple. It will make your job so much easier. Check them out online through the socials at Moya Living, their website, moyaliving.com, and in the real world, their live kitchen showroom in Fountain Valley, California. Thank you, Bregan. This is Roz Murphy. I was trying to figure out when the last time you and I spoke.
It was actually July of 2022.
Okay.
Time flies.
It's funny because for me, it's in two parts. It's one is when we talk. The second is when the episode is published.
Yes.
Right? But it's nice to see you in person because when I saw you last time, it was virtual. It was via Zoom.
Yes, exactly.
And, it's so funny. And I wanted to ask you this, like for you, being with clients virtually versus in person, how is the experience different for you?
I personally prefer in person. I think the energy and the communication is so much better. I think that it feels a little bit less stilted, and you really are able to develop a better relationship in person. And luckily, almost all of my clients are in town. I have potentially one out-of-town job, but they actually come to Dallas all the time, so I get to see them.
So I lived in Dallas for 9 years. I love Dallas. Tell me but that was a while ago. How has Dallas changed as a design city?
I definitely feel that contemporary design is still at play, but most of the people that I know that are doing new construction, depending on the neighborhood, are doing classic style homes. And I would say 90% of my clients have more of a classic transitional style.
That's interesting because, and Dallas is an interesting city to me. And being from LA, you mentioned you come to LA, you have family there, so you come to Los Angeles, so you've been there. LA and North Texas, Dallas in particular, very, very similar. You've got LA, you've got Dallas. You've got Orange County, you've got Fort Worth. There's a different vibe between LA and Orange County. There's a way different vibe between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Absolutely.
Or if you're from Fort Worth, Dallas.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
I learned that when I moved there. Yes. They're not the same.
They're not.
But equally great.
You're either from Dallas, Fort Worth, or you're from Fort Worth, Dallas, based on where you live, which side of Arlington you live on.
Yes.
And the vibe is different, and the feel is different. But one of the things that I love about Dallas is you've got the Nasher, you've got arts, you've got world-class sports, you've got the Speedway outside of Fort Worth, which brings in a ton of new business and different people. Anyway, it's vibrant and it's different, and the amount of people that are moving into the Metroplex is just staggering. How has that affected the business, and how has that affected your design?
I would say that it's affected sort of everyone's business from the residential real estate market, because during COVID we had a lot of people from California move to Dallas. I actually had some clients that bought one of my other clients' home that moved from California, and what's interesting is that they think that Dallas is such a bargain compared to California, and a lot of times the projects are a lot easier to pitch because our costs are so much lower.
It's interesting too. I first moved to Dallas in '95, and people from Texas were saying the exact same thing about California that they're saying now. And by the way, let's not forget that Texans are the ones that started this whole thing by moving to Denver. So the people in Colorado were saying the same thing about Texans that Texans have said about Californians moving in and taking everything over.
And I have to say, I did the same thing. My husband and I moved to Denver from Dallas in 2002 and lived there for 3 years. And I don't know if they love the Texans so much.
They don't. But here's what's interesting too. When people from one geographic location move to another geographic location, they bring with them different ideas. Some of them are terrible. And in addition to the ideas, the crowding and the traffic and the costs and the inflation, just the real estate inflation of pricing is really hard, especially for locals. At the same time, it builds community and it brings in an influx of new ideas. And I see that in Dallas. When it comes to resources as a designer, Tell me about the design community, because it's close, it's close-knit. You seem to really like each other.
I think that it's definitely a collaborative environment, and I think that there are so many amazing resources that are so close together. I have to say, it's working in the design center. My office is right near all of the showrooms, and it just makes it sort of fun to bop around and visit all the showrooms. I take my clients on field trips, and we go from one place to the other. But I do feel like there's a diversity in the aesthetic for sure with designers, but I think for the most part, it's very collaborative.
When you come to a show like this, how do you navigate it? What are you looking for? What are you looking for here? And what have you seen that you're absolutely crushing on?
So I come to this show because I do a lot of new construction, custom homes, and I feel that I always want to be able to see the latest and greatest when it comes to plumbing, tile, countertops, appliances, and I feel like I'm able to hyper-focus, where when I'm at home, I go to the same showrooms that only have a very small amount of each product line to be offered. So I think that this show is huge. I've never been to the Vegas show. I did go to the Orlando show last year, which is very easy, and I'm finding it a little difficult to navigate. I should have brought some breadcrumbs to find my way back to the shuttle.
The one thing is your choice of footwear is spectacular. Very smart. Are those comfortable?
They're really comfortable. My gold sneakers. I love a pump. I normally am rocking a pump, but I just was going to be hobbling if I did that. So
yeah, absolutely. But back to the original idea. So, what have you seen that you're crushing on, and how do you navigate this, and what are you looking for?
I'm really looking for in-person touch and feel products with the plumbing. There are a few projects where I've specified faucets, but they can't see them in person, and I'm really wanting to take video, etc. I think Kohler did an amazing job with their vignettes, especially collaborating with Ann Sachs to create those really luxurious bathrooms, and it was very playful. I was sort of crushing on the colorful commodes. There is a lineup of commodes, pink, yellow, blue, lavender, my favorite color. I mean, I might have to switch out my toilets and go right back to the 60s.
60s in look, but not in performance.
Correct. Let's hope.
Which is great.
Yes.
Which is really great. It's interesting, too, because Texas doesn't have the same restrictions. You talk about toilets, and it's really interesting because in California, for a long time, and it's unfortunate that this happens, but because of the rules and regulations and the low flow, so people would do a project, get it signed off on, and then drive to Arizona or Nevada to go pick up their new toilets and bring them back to California. Texas, you don't really have to do that, but I am curious, is there, even though you don't have to, is there a feel for sustainable design? Is there, and that's the interesting part of this, is like in California you have to have it because you have to have it, but in Texas you don't have to have it. But is it still relevant?
I think that it's still relevant, and people are really becoming aware of the different sustainable options out there. I can't say that my clients are obsessed with sustainability, but I think slowly but surely we'll get there.
I love that. I am so thrilled that we were able to sit down and reconnect. Roz, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Roz. Now a bit from our friends at Haker Kitchens. This German brand with over 125 years of tradition is making waves with exceptional design. This is Andreas Gommeringer, president of Haker Kitchens North America.
My name is Andreas Gommeringer. I'm the president of Haker Kitchens in North America. And Haker is one of the biggest manufacturers in Germany.
Tell me about the origin of the company.
Haker has been founded 125 years ago by a guy called Hermann Haker. And nowadays it is led by the same family in fourth generation.
That's amazing. Where do you manufacture?
So our manufacturing plants, they are in Rödinghausen. This is in the west of Germany.
And your U.S. operations are out of Miami?
Exactly. We have our U.S. headquarters in Miami.
So we're here at KBIS, IBS 2023. What does an event like this do for you? And in the context of it being post-pandemic, sort of re-engaging with the design community, and especially, last year KBIS was in Florida, now it's back in Las Vegas, so you've got a new group that maybe wasn't. Were you there last year?
Yes, yeah, we went to Orlando last year.
Okay, so you have a group that maybe a lot weren't at the event last year. What is an event like this? What does KBIS mean to you as a company, specifically as it relates to engaging with the design and building community?
No, being here in Las Vegas at KBIS for us is the great event, basically the major event for us in the entire year. Especially after that long time of pandemic we have seen over a couple of years. We went to Orlando last year for the first time, but we've been told that Vegas is even more spectacular, bigger, and we love to connect to the design community here. Definitely is one of the major events for us and our company to show our product and our brand to the design community.
And what have you, tell me about the product. Tell me about the differentiations in the product. Tell me about the manufacturing. Tell me about the product sourcing, the research and development. I know I've got a lot of questions for you, but tell me about the design and the performance of the product itself, and who's specifying it and why.
That's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions.
Wow. So let's start with the design options you have with Hacker. Hacker, as we are having one of the most modern production facilities across Europe, we have the ability to customize basically any cabinets you desire. What is our strength is that we have a portfolio, not just laminates, lacquered, the original finishes. We really offer real wood veneers, glass finishes, ceramic finishes, stone finishes even. This variety really gives you the option to design and specify in a way that your customers want to see the product. And another strength is our competence in lacquering. So we do have our lacquered doors we are offering in 1,950 colors. So the entire NCS scheme you can use and apply to your kitchen. We also adjust our cabinets to US dimensions for accommodating appliances, which is a big plus compared to other manufacturers you'll find from Germany. And yes, the design variety is unbelievable. We call it no limits. That has been also our claim at our last exhibition, because there's almost no limits on what you can do with our cabinetry.
What's interesting too, to me, and I'm curious about this, specifically as it relates to the research and development team. And I think about this in the terms of the fact that the last time I was at KBIS was in 2019, here in Las Vegas. The conversations that I had with manufacturers and designers and architects and builders, the conversations were completely different than this year, right? So much has happened and so much has taken place. The kitchen, the heart of the home, right? What's really interesting, like in Southern California, the idea of a secondary kitchen, a second kitchen, was fairly commonplace on the upper end of the luxury side. Whether it was an Asian kitchen where you would have an Asian design model, rather, where you would have a traditional kitchen, which was the heart of the home, but then you would have a secondary working kitchen, for grease and odors and splatter, and it was a dirty kitchen. It was for working, right? So you'd have two. A kosher kitchen, where you would have two of everything in the same space. Or another kitchen, you'd have a scullery, or you'd have a butler's pantry, or you'd have something in the bedroom for a coffee bar and a small kitchen. It's just amazing to me, the dynamic changes that are taking place in this particular room. The kitchen has changed dramatically. As a company, this is not your kitchen of 20 years ago. It performatively, it has changed so much. Tell me about your engineering department. Tell me about your research and development team. How do you navigate the changes that the design community is trying to enact on behalf of their their clients. How do you navigate that, and what is the engineering? And it's funny, as we talk, and for those who are listening, I'm looking over your shoulder at a video that is showcasing your factory, which really sort of informs the question, because it's spectacular. Just I'm watching just the science. It looks like an auto factory. It's amazing. Tell me about the engineering and the R&D that goes into the product and how it informs the changes that you make.
Josh, you're definitely right. So if you look around where we are standing right now, basically we don't stand in a kitchen, right? You see on your right-hand side, there's sideboards, part of the living rooms. In the back, you see a bar hidden behind pocket doors. And as you mentioned before, the fabrication process changed as well. So what we are doing basically in the research and development part of it, for sure, we follow trends, we observe trends from other industries, and also we look what's happening out there. And we also see in terms of the material changes that people prefer more natural materials than it has been before. It becomes basically more interesting. And the trend you mentioned before with the second kitchen, this is real, right? So people really want to have their show kitchen, highlight kitchen, close to the living room where they gather with other people, and then they want to have their working kitchen. And this is great with our product. You can do that, right? And definitely there's a lot of things happening. Material is developing, the way we produce and the engineers developing. For instance, we have a laboratory, and in the laboratory nowadays we even do UV light testing. This is so fascinating because we know, you talked about California, we know that you have kitchens that are exposed to sunlight probably all day. And what the guys are doing in Germany, they are simulating 15 years of sunlight directly hitting your cabinetry to see if there are any changes or alterations in the material. So nowadays it is on such a high level in terms of high tech, so definitely not comparable to what we have seen 20 or 30 years ago.
It's interesting too. So do you, and I'm going back to this, when I think of German made, I think of highly engineered, I think of dutifully researched, and I want to talk to you about that too, because again, looking at the factory and the manufacturing that goes into this, talk to me about your engineering department, because that's something that the design community doesn't often talk about, sort of what goes on behind the beautiful material, the people, right? The engineers who are crunching numbers, who are doing the work. And I tell you why I ask this. I ask this because in the past you would look at the idea of a kitchen design and you would say this kitchen is going to be here exactly as it is for 25, 30 years. Fair. Because the kitchen is changing so dynamically currently. You have some designers who want to go with floating shelves. You want some designers who want to get away from uppers altogether because they want to apply some other element of design there. You have the appliance manufacturers who are putting more in drawer instead of traditionally how appliances were used. That has to change the way that you engineer your kitchens. It has to change the way, and plus you're making room for other things. You're making room for warming drawers and refrigerated drawers and dishwasher drawers, and you're making room for coffee systems, and it's changing so rapidly where you look at a kitchen and you say, you know what, this may be traditionally how the kitchen footprint looks for 25 years, but we have to change the way that we think. The engineers are the ones who change the way you think. Tell me about that process, the science behind the design a little bit.
Well, what I do think is that it has become more complex than in the past. So if you look into our sales manual and into the number of articles and cabinets we are having in our range, it's way more than 60,000 different options. And I believe the main driver is what you have spoken about. You have different tastes, different people, ones that want upper cabinets, others that don't like upper cabinets. And our purpose is really to create still sustainable kitchens, right? We don't want to have the kitchens move out of the house after 10, 15 years because a new generation is coming in or whatever. It's our main interest to design and engineer sustainable with the kitchens that we have. So there's multi-generation involved basically in that process. And the engineering team, I think the more difficult task nowadays is really to make sure that we are able to offering all these wonderful options, to understand the needs, to understand it, and really to navigate through that, making sure that in a modern production that is with such a high automation level, making sure that each and every cabinet is produced, customized, right? We have customized cabinets, so basically you can adapt each and every cabinet, the size, the color, the finishes, the materials, and I think this is a task for the engineers. I wouldn't be able to manage that, to be honest. So I'm very proud of that, people, but it is great. So we just bring the orders to the factory, and they exactly do whatever is needed, and this is a great task. So I'm not an engineer.
No,
but
I get that.
But I know that it is a huge task, and it's great what has been achieved so far.
Yeah, and I get that. And I think the reason I asked the question is because kitchens, the requirement of today's modern kitchen, it's more performative than it had to be in the past. You have things that move. You have transforming. You have raising consoles. You have surfaces that raise and lower and move and shift and transform, which makes the kitchen, again, more performative. It's almost like a highly functional garage where it's a workshop. A kitchen is a workshop. It is. And traditionally it's like, okay, well, the range goes here and the refrigerator goes there, and we try to put a triangle here because you want access to, but it's not like that anymore. Like the idea of the traditional triangle has just been changed. So that's why I asked the question. I think it's absolutely amazing. And anyone who's interested in Haker Kitchens, go check the show notes, and I'll have links to the company. Thank you for doing this.
All right. Thank you very much, Josh. Appreciate it.
Another brand I found at IBS this year is Top Knobs. This is a state of the industry with Matt Vecchiola.
Name is Matt Vecchiola, and I'm the Senior Director of National Sales for the Top Knobs division.
So we're here at KBIS, and I love that I'm back.
First time in 3 years.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did you go to Orlando?
We opted out of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're back. We're back.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some people said in advance coming into this, they were like, I don't know if people are going to be traveling.
I know.
And I was like, I think people are going to travel. And I think
the second I sat on the airplane and saw that every single seat was taken, I was like, yeah, I think the show's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah. And I was at Las Vegas Market prior to this, and it was jammed.
Yeah.
And this is wall to wall, and this is a huge event.
This is probably the busiest I may have seen it in like 15 years almost. I mean,
yeah. So love that. What does that mean for you? And it's funny because I always put the sales side not in contrast against, but actually with R&D and the design side, right? Because the sales side is really important. You're the one that's educating the dealers. So talk to me about that relationship and what an event like this means and what you get to talk to these guys about.
Well, this is really exciting for us because we launch all of our new products at the beginning of the year, and KBIS is the perfect platform for us to springboard all of our new launches. So we have a new collection for Top Knobs called the Coddington Collection. First time it's seen the light of day is here at KBIS, and we're super excited about this collection. And our customers, it's a common theme. Everybody comes into the Top Knobs booth and they say, "What's new? Where's your new board?" And it's just so awesome to show it to them. And 9 times out of 10, it's a customer who's already buying from us, and we have a nice little aggressive display promotion here, and we got our new products on order here at the show to ship soon, and they get these products right on display in their showrooms, and it's great.
Talk to me about the Coddington. Talk to me about the full collection. Talk to me about relationships with designers. Do you do partnerships? How does this work?
Yeah, so we actually have a design team, in-house design team led by Christine Zimmer, and she designs all of our new products. This particular collection, it's a modern industrial collection is the catchphrase that we're using for that series. And the great thing about it that we have with everything that we do with Top Knobs is the depth and breadth that we offer from. It's available in 8 different finishes, multiple sizes, and matching appliance pools at 12 and 18 inches. So it's got a ton of variety, a ton of depth and breadth to what we offer with that collection. And it's right on point with what the trend in the design world is, especially as it relates to finish. Gold and black are the most popular finishes in the industry, and we have our honey bronze finish and our black finish featured throughout that entire collection. So we think we have another hit collection for 2023.
So, black and bronze.
Yeah.
Has that changed at all? Are you?
Yeah. So it's called honey bronze. It's a gold finish, kind of a satin brass sort of look. We didn't have it in Top Knobs 5 years ago. It's now our #1 finish at Top Knobs. It's insane how much the gold tones have taken over the kitchen and bath industry. So it's been phenomenal.
How does it work with the design team? Because as designers see new product, new colorways, new themes, things coming out of Maison, things coming out of Salone, and then how does it make it through your design process, through your design team to the dealers?
So our design team travels to all these shows. Their ears is to the street for what is trending all throughout Europe. Pre-COVID, they would travel with me around all the major metropolitan markets throughout the United States. So the design team would come with me to Miami, to New York, Los Angeles, talk to our biggest customers, talk to the designers at our showrooms. So that's how we learn. That's what we learn is trending, by keeping our ear to the streets, going to these shows, talking to our customers, and getting feedback. So, kudos to our design team for, not thinking they know it all and, still wanting to go out there and, listen to hear what everybody else has to say.
Tell me about the company.
So Top Knobs has been in business, I guess we're on year 28. Started as a family-owned company with, 2 porcelain collections of knobs. And slowly but surely, we just started building a brand. And it's a really cool story. I started at Top Knobs 16 years ago when it was a small family-owned company. We got purchased by a private investment group in 2008. And they believed in us. They invested all the capital that we needed to come out with the new products. When they purchased us, we came out with 7 new collections in 1 year. And if you're familiar with Top Knobs, each collection is on a display board. So we had 7 new display boards that we had to get out in the field. And, this private investment group, just every single year after year, they believe in us. They give us all the money we need for tooling, all the money we need to subsidize our boards to get them out in the field. So every single customer has our new products. And, the thing about Top Knobs is we try to be the easiest company to work with. We know that when you're doing a kitchen and bath remodel or a kitchen and bath project or new construction, we know there's a lot more stressful products to worry about than cabinet knobs. So the thing about Top Knobs is we have it in stock. We have a 99% fill rate. We have a very accessible customer service team that, if there's an issue, you can pick up the phone and call, and you'll talk to a live person within seconds. And if there's a problem, we're quick to fix it. And that's the nice thing about cabinet hardware. If there's an issue, it's a cabinet knob. If something's wrong with it, we'll send you another one. We have a lifetime warranty. We have a free sample program. We just try to make ourselves the easiest company in the kitchen and bath industry to do business with.
What are you seeing now as far as raw material, as far as supply chain, as far as getting product to job site? What are you seeing, product to project? Really?
We're in a much better place than where we were a year ago.
Of course.
Yes,
what are you seeing moving forward?
I feel like it's not ever going to be as easy as it was in the past.
Do you think that's true?
I do. I think we're in this new normal where there's always going to be something to gum up the scene somewhere along the way, whether it's freight costs, shipping costs. It just seems like we're in a world where there's always going to be something they're going to stick in the spokes to screw it up for us. But I think we've all learned a lot over the last couple of years, and we've learned how to do business smarter. And but I do think we're in a new normal, and I think it's not going to be as easy as it was in the past. But we got a great sourcing team. We have great relationships with all the people, all of our suppliers overseas. Great relationships with how big of a company we are with the freight and logistic companies. So our issues right now are minimal. Compared to where they were a year ago with supply chain issues and raw material costs and container costs and all that stuff. We're in a much better place today than where we were a year ago.
Very cool. And for those listening, if you want to check them out, check the show notes. There will be a link to Top Knobs. Matt, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. It's great. I mean, this just as we sit here now, this booth is jam-packed, and I haven't seen a KBIS like this in a very, very long time. So
it's crazy, right?
It's going to be a wild 2.5 days coming up here. So
yeah, totally.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Man. Thank you, Matt. I found another previous Convo by Design guest and panel participant, as well as moderator. This is Band Design's Sarah Malik Barney. It is too loud because there's a lot of people here.
It is very loud.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything on my panel, and I was on the panel.
When was your panel?
When?
Yeah.
Like an hour ago.
What was it?
I don't know. I still don't know what it is that we talk about, to be honest with you. I'm not even kidding. The title was like, the futurists of business innovation, and I was like, those are words that mean nothing.
Yeah.
And then it followed no path.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because you and I have known each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
COVID days, even.
Pre-COVID
yeah.
days. And you have been on a panel of mine,
mm-hmm.
and you have been the moderator of a panel that I have produced.
Yes.
And let's chop that up for a second, because what I find so interesting is nowadays you get that a lot, right? It's like, here's a word salad. We're going to put all of these like really important, pertinent, relevant words together.
Yes. Buzzwords.
Buzzwords.
Yes.
And then we're going to call it a panel, and we're going to put people together who are going to talk about, I mean, if you want to just talk about the words, that's one thing, but I think the ideas are so much more important. I was on a panel yesterday, and it was one of the first times that I was on a panel as a guest, not as a moderator.
Oh, interesting.
And Bregan.
Yes.
Bregan.
Was she the moderator?
Moderated it.
Oh, how funny.
And it was about podcasts. So there were three other podcasters
okay.
with me,
yeah.
and I had so much fun.
Did you?
Not being in charge. You like being the boss.
I do.
You're the boss.
I do. Yeah.
You are the boss.
Yes. Yes.
And
that's a lane I'm comfortable in.
It is.
Yeah.
And because of that, you have one of the things that I love most about you and your firm, the work you do, is how multifaceted you are. But also, it's been very well crafted. It's been well thought out. It's been well put together. And you have these business lanes that you stay in. They're multiple.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Well, I think, at the beginning of it all, I was kind of trying to do a little bit of everything. And it was like, I'm going to have a shop, and I'm going to and I'm going to make my own products. And then I realized I can't do all those things well. And so instead of casting a wide net, it's sort of just focusing on doing a couple of things really well and honing in on that. And so that's what I just keep reminding myself, because we could do a million different things, but I'm not going to do them well, So that's where I keep it. That's how I stay in the lane.
Do you have an order of operations? Do you have like an order of things and the manner? Okay, there's the design business, and there's the development side, and there's the media and the marketing of the firms. Do you have which comes first? Design?
It should, but it doesn't necessarily. For me, no. For me, it's about the health of the business, the growth of the business, and sort of that forward thinking. I'm that visionary to the business. Now, for other people, if you ask other people in my firm, they should be saying design first. But for me, it's about where are we going to go in 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, and making sure we're on that track and sticking with that vision.
Visionaries cannot do day-to-day.
No, they cannot.
Nor should they.
No, they should not. It would break. If I had to do it day-to-day, it would break. It would be very bad. I cannot see the forest of the trees. I cannot see those details. So I lean on people to help me with that.
How do you find good people, especially today?
It's really tough. It's really tough. What I've learned is you can't hire just based on skill. It is more about a culture fit, and if you like the person, then it is anything else. Because as long as they have an eye, especially when it comes to design, as long as they have an eye, you can train them on anything else. So if they're a good culture fit and you like them as a person and you're invested in their growth as a designer, as a professional, then they're a perfect fit. But if they're not, see you later. And so, I think when you know, and it's very much a gut call. And we've been through a lot of bad gut decisions, you know?
Tell me about the work. Tell me about the design. Tell me about the state of Austin. And here's what's interesting too. I love Austin.
Yes.
I feel about Austin. I like Austin a great deal. I feel like Austin has one foot firmly planted in the future, with one eye on the past.
Well, I think that's the nature of Austin in general. It's, is always like keep Austin weird, and there's still that old guard, and they do not want to let go of the weirdness of Austin. I have not seen it slip away so much that I have in the last couple of years, and it does feel very different now than it did 2 years ago. And I mean, it's been growing like crazy for 15 years. But really in the last 2 years is when you really feel the shift of it. You can't get reservations places. You can't park anywhere. I mean, it's just, it's a different city now.
Yeah, it is a different city though. And to that point, I think South by materially changed Austin.
It did, yes. And I could say that because I worked for South by Southwest for 7 years. And it's so ingrained in the culture of the city. But now it's like this is another conference that just happens. People don't care as much about the music side of it the way they used to. They don't care about the art and the creative community that comes for it anymore. It's all about what tech businesses are going to come and what panels am I going to go see. So the attitude of it is very different than it was, for sure.
And here's what's interesting, too, about your firm is you do residential development.
Yes.
You have this all-encompassing residential development arm of the business. Okay, no BS, seriously? How do you do that in a market like Austin? Holy cow. Real estate, good Lord.
It's tough. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think the way we've done it that I feel like is a little bit smart is we're not trying to be some massive home builder. We're not trying to be somebody we're not, and we're not trying to build it too quickly. I mean, right now we've got 4 properties. Only one is super active in construction, and we're sort of, doing a step-by-step instead of doing like 10 at a time. And I think to slow roll it a little bit like that, and the main reason I started it is to have more design forward flips, new builds than the same crap that was going up with the white subway tile and the same whatever fell off the back of a truck. So there's a little bit more thought and care put into it that translates, I think, into a feeling and helps, well, one, drive up the sales price of the house, but also make it a little bit more of a unique experience. And that doesn't happen in Austin. And I don't know if that really happens a lot in a lot of places. And so I think that's sort of the secret sauce to be able to play in that crazy space.
Why do you think that doesn't happen more?
I don't know. I mean, I for me, it seems like a no-brainer, right? But for whatever reason, people aren't thinking of that. And I think that's from a designer's perspective. If you're a developer in general, you're only looking at the bottom line. You do not care about the output. So I think unless you are a creative coming at it, you're not thinking about it. And I think a lot of creatives aren't thinking about it. I think they are just siloed in their design and not really thinking past what's right in front of their face.
Do you think, though, that after the last 3 years, after what we've all been through, that people have woken up to the fact that design is experiential and good design is something that's not about what's on the walls or about the space, but it's about the experience that you have in the place?
I definitely think there's more of that than there ever was before, but I definitely think there's still people who think that what we do is frivolous and unnecessary.
You think?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. And I won't even name the professions of the ones that I think typically fall in that bucket.
But we love architects.
No, it's not yeah, architects, yeah. I was more talking about doctors.
I kid.
No, I'm kidding too. Wink. No, I think there is definitely more value put on it, and people are more trusting than they were of what we're doing. But I definitely think that there's still people out there like, yeah, I just need a couch. Can you help me? And they don't actually care what we're doing or what value we're bringing to the table. Yeah, but I don't know.
I'm taking that in for a moment.
You what?
I'm taking that in for a moment.
Okay.
Because I think you're right in some form or fashion. I think that, look, design is a is a creative endeavor. It's a form of art. It is absolutely, make no mistake about it.
It is a subjective sport.
Yeah. And there will always be those who think that certain forms of art, someone can look at a painting. And to me, paintings are the perfect comparison. Because there are some who can look at fine art and say, oh, ugh, whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's the thing. There are others who can say, yes, it's wonderful, but I would never pay $1 million for a painting.
Right.
And then there are some who would say, well, I don't understand. The canvas costs $10 and the paint on there is another $10. That's $20 worth of material.
It's intellectual property, though, at the end of the day, what you're paying for it.
It is, but it's more than that.
Yes.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
Good art makes you think. It makes you feel.
Yeah.
It gives you something emotionally.
Yeah.
And music. I love jazz. Jazz, music, any music that you love transcends, and it takes you someplace else.
Yeah.
Good design, it takes you someplace else.
But do you think it's like one of those things you don't know if you don't know? So until you've experienced
No
good
question.
design, so of course somebody's gonna be like, yeah, what you're doing is just decorating a house and it's no big deal, and move on with your life. But then when they've really experienced good design, then that's when they really appreciate it and they really see it for what it is.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. And that is what's most important about it. And I think that that's part of the problem too, is, or part of the solution is that your clients are never going to come to KBIS and walk around and go, oh my gosh, this is...
Oh my God, I would never bring them.
Do you know what's funny though? I will tell you something. I think more clients should come to this.
No, I don't.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because if they came to this, they would understand that it's not like walking into a store where you have 4 pairs of pants and 3 shirts from which to choose.
Yes.
There's a difference in the experience that a good designer brings to the table.
Yes. And I mean, that's what we tell our clients, when we're specifying a sofa, for example. I say, I went to High Point Market and I sat on 75,000 sofas so that I could recommend these 2 to you in good faith, so you don't need to look at them. And that's what you're paying me for. You're paying me for that knowledge and that experience. And once they're reminded of that, they usually get it. They don't need to see everything. We have very few clients that ask to sit on things in advance. Very few. They just trust it. We're recommending it because we know it's good quality and we know it goes with the design. It all is a perfect piece, and they understand that's why they're hiring us, for sure.
Yeah. Has the table been leveled to some small degree in relation to product and price and cost? Because, look, I think gone are the days, I say this because more designers understand their value more than they used to. But, you will still have some clients who say, look, why don't you just give me your discount? I got the eye roll. I love that, by the way. I love that because that is probably the one thing that's like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to hear that again.
I've actually gotten in fights with other designers about that question, because we all actually feel differently about that question. And for me, it's the most offensive question you can ask. As it is, and I'm not easily offended. You could say just about anything to me. But that is, if a client says that to me, I shut it down immediately, because you would never name another profession where you would walk in and say, can I have your discount? Or go into Target and say, how much did you buy that toothbrush for? I want to buy it for that price. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that they think it's okay, but it's our own fault. Because years ago, there were people who would pass because they didn't know how to sell. And so they were like, this is the way I can talk them into it. This is the way I can get them on board. And now it's created this never-ending domino. 2
parts to that. The first is, and I put it firmly, like you said, on the designers who said, our business model, I'll just pass on. I'll charge a retainer and pass on my trade discount. That should never happen.
No.
The other part is the design centers never should have allowed consumers into the design center. It
Absolutely
should be. When I say that clients and customers should come to KBIS, tongue-in-cheek, complete hyperbole, their heads would explode.
Yes.
If you tried to navigate this.
Well, then I'll send a reel. I'll take an Instagram reel and they can see what all the things I saw.
Yeah. But it has to be highly edited, because there's no way. Look, I don't know if there's 1 million square feet here or not, but I walked in. It's funny. I've been here before, and I walked into like the exhibition hall, and I was like, oh, it's gotten smaller this year. And it was like, yeah, because that's just north.
Yeah.
Then there's west and
Yep.
central. I mean,
Yep.
it's gotten 30% bigger.
Oh my, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy here. And I used to come for CES, and this place is just a zoo. It's wild here. Yeah.
What's next for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm really focused on the development side of our business. That's where I spend a lot of our time, a lot of my time. And for me, it's about figuring out what is the best path for us as a business in the next 2 to 3, 4 years. From a branding standpoint, from a product, what are we putting out there in the marketplace, and really honing in on the clients we work with. Because for so long, it was sort of fly by the seat of our pants, and if they seem sort of okay fit, let's take it. And now we're saying no to so much more than we ever did before. And it's like, I know that we can make some money, but it's not worth it. They don't fit. We have somebody right now that we're talking to, and she's super sweet. She came as a referral from her next door neighbor where we did work on her house. And the way she wants us to slice the deal, I'm like, that's not how we work. And it's just, and I want to work with her. She's a referral. She seems like a great person, but she just doesn't fit in with how we do our projects. And so it's hard to say no to people like that, because you know they're good people. You know it'll be a okay project, but she wants us to bill hourly. We don't bill hourly. She wants us to go to a showroom with her. We don't go to showrooms with clients. So like there's certain things like that. It's like now I can say no to them and just say it doesn't fit. So
It's a great place to be. Look, in life, when you're in a position to say no, it makes the yeses so much better.
Yes.
Because it's what you want to be working
Yeah.
on, not what you feel like you have to be working on.
Yeah, and I'm like a big time nerd. It's our only finite asset. I say it all the time. If I'm somewhere and I'm spending my time on it, it's because I want to do it, not because I just have to do it. So I'm very big on that and very aware of where my time goes, where my team's time goes.
Yeah.
That's super, super important to me, because that's the only thing I can't add more of.
I got nowhere to go with that. Thank you. This was awesome.
You're welcome.
I love catching up with you.
Yes, this is so fun. I love this setup.
Right?
Yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah. Next event, you're going to be doing this.
Am I?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Thank you, Brooke. This is Christine Vroom. It's so funny because we were talking about Legends. That's the last time we saw each other. But you and I have spoken on a show.
Yes.
And I'm trying to remember how long ago, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but
You
it
know,
was less than a year ago.
Yeah, but that's what I've realized too. It's like after the last 3 years, it's like, you know what? Time doesn't matter.
No.
It stands still. Doesn't matter. What does matter is back in Vegas for KBIS, and it's pretty amazing this year.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So this is the first day. Have you had a chance to walk the floor at all?
We did. We've done, I'd say, half-ish.
Whoa. No, you haven't. Not possible. You're saying half of this room.
Half of the west. We went to the west side.
Okay.
We just
Okay.
arrived
Okay.
on this wing.
So it's so funny because so when I got here this morning, I was like, I walked in, I was like, oh, okay, this is so manageable. I can totally do this. Yeah, no, I walked into the North Hall and didn't even see the West Hall or the South Hall, or didn't even know that I was in the new part.
We couldn't even find the west hall.
Yes, I know.
In the main building.
And then you've got the whole loop thing. So if you're not familiar with the loop,
We just took the loop. The
did
loop
you?
was awesome.
What'd you think of that?
We're like at Disneyland, right? You
It's
go
a ride.
in, there's rocks, right? And then all of the Teslas are lined up, and then you go through the tunnel of lights. It was very exciting.
It's the Hyperloop. So this is This is the Elon Musk the Boring Company that does the tunnels. So they tunnel in, and then you've got Teslas that actually drive you around.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's like a ride.
It was like a ride.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So what have you seen so far that you're crushing on?
Well, we went to the Monogram booth,
Okay.
which was incredible. Have you been there yet?
No.
It was set up, I mean, whoever designed it, spectacular job. Each room there was like a bar, like a bakery, then you go into this designer kitchen with this amazing new brass finishes. Like, it was just really well done. So they've set up different kitchens, and I think that was sort of the hype for me so far.
Was it the experience or was it the product?
Both.
So let's talk about kitchens for a second.
Okay.
What are you being asked for in the kitchen that you weren't maybe asked for a few years ago?
Multiple dishwashers.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. The coffee maker. The multiple dishwashers. The ice makers. Beverage faucets. Taps. Wine fridges. You name it. Fridge drawers. Beverage drawers.
So,
all the stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting, this idea of the heart of the home.
Yeah.
Which is, isn't it funny? Because if you would have shown someone a kitchen, here's the funny part. If you would have shown someone the likes of the kind of kitchen that you're working on now, in comparison to what you were doing 10 years ago, what people were asking for 10 years ago, they'd be like, oh, that's the kitchen of the future. I mean, the coffee machine is going to be standard at some point.
Definitely. It's
right?
almost becoming standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cooling drawers, the warming drawers, the
steam ovens.
The steam ovens. The combi steam ovens. Is this whole gas is going away thing affecting you at all in the manner in which you design now?
I can't imagine gas going away. I feel like the cooking in general would be a little bit more challenging, or a lot of it more challenging. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping we're in the kitchen of the future, meaning we're not going to take away how we cook. And I think the whole more is more might wind up being a less is more in the future. So it's that ever evolving.
And as far as the locations where you're designing now, are you staying pretty local, or are you moving around a bit?
Moving around, but we are definitely in the bubble. So from basically beach cities of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Into Los Angeles, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny, because Manhattan Beach is home, but we moved to Tulsa, so we're living in Tulsa now. And going from... Okay,
I mean, that's a shocking change.
Okay, so here's what's funny about that. The house we're in now is basically the size of our lot at the beach.
Oh, yeah. Shocking difference.
Oh my gosh. It is a shocking difference, but
Yeah.
there's other differences too, because you have to design differently. And, for you, what are your clients asking for, and how are you navigating because in LA it doesn't feel like a smaller space. In LA it is what it is. In New York it is what it is.
Right.
The size of your lot, the size of your apartment, whether you have a yard or you don't have a yard or you have a terrace, it just is what it is. You find a way to work within that. How is LA changing? More people are moving in from outside. The beach cities are getting more compacted for sure. How does that inform what you do and what your clients are asking for?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Well, where we are, I would say there's mostly a view. So we have something to work with, right? So I'm not really seeing a lot of people moving to, right? We're not getting a lot of people from like Texas that are coming to California. There's like more of like an exodus of people leaving, and then people moving just from different cities to get closer and closer and closer to the beach. So, everything is about the view where we are. So we kind of have to do everything to enhance the view, meaning configurations of kitchens, product, right? So it's kind of like but not really from out of town. Like nobody from Tulsa.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. People from Texas don't move to California. It's the other way
No,
around.
yeah.
And
They're leaving.
Except the New Yorkers, East Coast will always come west because the weather's always better.
Because the price is about the same.
Because the price is about the same.
Yeah.
It fluctuates to some degree, but not so much. And the fact that but listen, it gets a little tougher for you being in California to specify certain products, because if they do outlaw, gas outlets, putting in gas is going to be tough. It's not going to be the same as just being, well, I guess you can, but it's not going to be the same as being able to drive to Arizona for your toilets.
Yeah.
If they outlaw or ban gas outlets,
we're going to have to adjust.
You're going to have to adjust.
We're going to have to adjust.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, and I think that they've been coming out with some really amazing products, like the what's that one called with the glass top? The
Induction.
Thank you.
Do you know what's funny? Can I tell you something? I have the hardest time remembering what induction, the word, like I have the hardest time with that word. So I totally get it. The only reason I remember it is because we just specified one. So we're replacing a gas range with induction because I want to see how it works.
Right.
I want to see if I like it. I love gas.
Me too.
I've always loved gas.
I know. So how's it working out?
Don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
Don't have it yet.
Is it back ordered for a year?
Well, of course it is. Yeah.
Okay.
But no. So we're supposed to get it at the end of the month, but I'm anxious to see it because what I've been told is the difference between induction and gas is that gas you cook based on the flame, and induction you cook based on the food.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get behind that.
I can get behind that. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're gonna try it out. I'll let you know. What I do love is that as a designer, you have options now that, gosh, you didn't have before.
A lot of options.
You can now take your warming drawers and put them in a bathroom to put the towels in.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Doable.
Also with the electric, I'm just thinking, like, I think we're going to have to need an evolution of countertop options, because remember that whole thing came out with the burners under the counter and this whole seamless approach. I think that's like a shiny, flashy light thing that people can get behind, but you're really limited on counter options that would be able to do that.
And you know who's going to figure that out?
Us.
Designers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you need a designer. And that's why, I love telling the stories behind great design. And for those who are listening, if you want to see Christine's work, which is amazing, go to the show notes, and I will have a link there to her website, and you can see what she does, because it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
It's so good chatting with you.
I know,
As
right?
always.
Thank you. Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles. Wow, jam-packed, am I right? Thank you, Sarah, Matt, Roz, Andreas, Bregan, Christine, and John. Thank you, Convo By Design partners and sponsors, Thermosol, Moya Living, and Design Hardware for your partnership and sponsorship. I appreciate you, and I love the way you support the design industry the way you do. For those listening who want to learn more, please check the show notes for links. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I know you have other options out there. I know your time is stretched. I know now more than ever there are a lot of shows, and you chose Convo by Design. I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope you found this episode to be of value and use of your time, because that's my goal. Let's do this again, shall we? Say next week? Until then, be well and take today first.